All right, time for another Nerdy Virgin podcast. I'm recording in my car. I can't park in the parking garage I normally park at, and it's really thrown me off. I'm very irritated by this. The Department of Water and Power has blocked off the street and appears to be doing something farther up on the street. They do not appear to be doing anything in the area where I want to park. The parking garage area is fine. Why didn't I just go around the sign and just ignore them and park where I need to park? Why didn't I do that? Have I not a right? Have I not lived enough? Have I not suffered enough that now I'm sitting in a parking garage that is farther from the location where I want it to be, feeling very groggy and stressed and tired and I would say depressed, feeling very stressed out and very very what? Out of control. Out of control. That's what I feel. Like I work at the comedy club, and there are things that I just can't talk about that are internal. And the funny thing is, the details are irrelevant. In fact, even where I work is irrelevant. I'm the one with the problem. I can't let things roll off my shoulder. I can't let things go. I'm very bad at letting things go. And I blame my parents for things that they did back in the 80s. And I'm working on a revenge plan as we speak. Because I can't let things go. That's the premise. I can't let things go. Because I keep having this notion that if I stop worrying about something, it will go wrong. So it would almost be like, I'm afraid there's going to be a car accident at this intersection, so I'm going to worry about whether or not there's a car accident at this intersection all day, every day, and worrying about it will prevent there from being a car accident at that intersection. And this is not true. This is not accurate. There's no basis in science for this mode of thinking. My entire mode of thinking is based on faulty logic. Essentially, I have created in my head my own religion that, when you break it down, makes absolutely no sense. And I am committing to it. Day after day, it's just become habit. So I'm entering the self-loathing period of the stress, where I think to myself, who else would want to be around me? And I have a terrible feeling that what my brain is doing is what my mother's brain is doing. And I have inherited her brain, and that we have similar ways of thinking. Namely, neurotic ways of thinking. So here's what happened yesterday. So yesterday, I'm driving to work, and I'm wearing my mask. I still wear my mask. I feel comfortable wearing the mask. During the pandemic, by the way, I felt suffocated when wearing the mask. But as soon as I got the vaccine, Suddenly, as soon as I was not even no, as soon as we were told you don't have to wear the mask outside, I suddenly missed the mask, and now I still wear the mask. So I'm in the car wearing the mask. I guess I don't need to be. I don't know. Does anyone? And a guy next to me at the stoplight starts talking to me from his car. And he says, "Why are you wearing? Do you work for Uber? Why are you wearing the mask?" And I said, "I'm neurotic." And he said, "What does that mean?" First of all, can you imagine the kind of human being, the type of human being that has never encountered the word neurotic? I'm almost terrified that I introduced it to him because he was living in a world of absolute bliss. A world of total, absolute bliss. Have I just opened the door in his mind to neuroses? And so I said, and then he said, "What does it mean?" And I said, "I'm afraid of everything," which, by the way, is not really quite the definition of neurotic, right? I think it's a bit more involved with that. I should look it up. I just don't feel like it right now because I'd have to look it up on the phone as I'm recording. And I don't want to take the risk of losing the recording. I'm also not on Wi-Fi right now, so it might be spotty. Point is, I'm not sure it's the right definition of neurotic. And he said, oh, well, I learned a new word today, and he was happy about it. This is not a neurotic person. Looking on the bright side of life. And I think then he said, what have you done to love yourself? And I responded, I'm not into that. He was actually waiting to make a left turn, and the conversation probably would have continued had it not been for the arrow, which I'm now eternally grateful for that arrow. Thank you, arrow. But, I look back on that conversation with a degree of pride because I was honest. Could have lied. I could have said, yeah, I drive for Uber. I have to, it's a requirement. But I didn't want to. I was honest about what I'm going through. And it felt good. I still can't get over the fact that he doesn't know what neurotic is. Stop bragging. Don't know what neurotic is. I'm exceedingly tired right now. Very tired. I probably could sleep. I could have slept another couple hours. I'm trying to remember if I turned off my space heater. I'm pretty sure I did. I always turn it off, and then inevitably think to myself, did I turn it off? But even if I left it on, aside from the fact that it sucks out power, it's on all night when I'm asleep. My fear there is that it's going to fall over or something and start a fire. What would make it fall over? Earthquake? So the building survives the initial earthquake, but it falls over, starts a fire, and burns down. And the fire department determines the cause of the fire was, they left it plugged in and on while he wasn't there, and it fell over, and the fire started. And I displace at least one person, maybe more, if the fire spread to the other houses. And then I'd feel horrible about that for a while. That could even maybe kill someone. Oh, imagine the guilt there. And this is why I don't have kids.
because this is how my brain works. This is the rabbit hole. These are the rabbit holes I enter every day. How do I convey this to somebody in another car in less than 5 seconds? I guess by saying I'm afraid of everything. That's how. I'm super tired. I am beyond super tired at this point. I'm kind of in a dazed... I don't like not being able to park where I want to park. That's really bothering me. There was no need for them to close that part of the street. There was no need. They weren't even working on that part of the street. They were working farther up. Very irritating. It is almost 9 o'clock in the morning. If you need to close down part of the street to work on your water or your power, you do it earlier. Come on, this is supposed to be Burbank. Burbank is supposed to have it together. Very, very taken aback. So the parking garage I'm at right now, on the outside of the parking garage, there's this wire mesh, and then on top of the wire mesh is ivy growing up along the wall of the parking garage, which is nice. There's something... Ivy. That's nice. I never mind ivy. The college I went to, the theater building had ivy on it. And I was told that there were rats living there, and that made me like the ivy just a little bit less. It kind of takes the beauty away from it. They've found a way to integrate nature into this building. You know, rats live in there. If you get too close, they'll bite you and give you several diseases. Good luck with your theater degree. It's nice outside of a building. Yeah, there's ticks all over the place. 2 theater majors died of Lyme disease 6 months apart from each other. Tragedy. Yeah, if I were you, I'd keep yourself sprayed down at all times with chemicals. The ivy's protected under certain regulations, so we can't kill it, but it is a harbor for disease and pestilence. But yeah, it's pretty. So I don't know what's living in that ivy right now. I don't want to know. But from this angle, it looks rather nice. Well, I managed to talk for 13 minutes. The goal is to talk for 50 minutes. I want to get used to doing a longer set. So I've tasked myself with recording 50-minute podcasts in an effort to start to think in terms of an hour. And to think about how I shape that hour, to think of how I sculpt that hour, if you will, to think how I take that hour and, like the expert potter who molds clay into a beautiful pot, do that with the hour of stand-up comedy, so that people leave going, what a craftsman, what a skilled craftsman that was. I'm probably just making this up. But why is it that I just have this? This is not founded in anything. But I just get the feeling sometimes that potters are a little arrogant. I've never really met a potter that I know of. You know, I've probably had conversations with potters. I didn't realize they made pottery. They walk among us with necessarily no external sign. And I should really be careful what I say, because the next person I talk to, if I say the wrong thing, it could be a potter. And here I am making sweeping generalizations about potters, that they seem arrogant. I don't know. I don't know where that even comes from. But they just seem, yeah, you know, I can sculpt. I can take clay and turn it into something beautiful. What can you do? Oh, you know something about finances? You deal with portfolios? Interesting. I took this piece of earth and turned it into beauty. That also serves a practical purpose. You can also store your knickknacks in it. But I have the power to sculpt the earth. What do you do? What do you do? You send emails? Would the world weep if you died? No, my friend. You would simply become part of the earth that I would make into something way more beautiful than you. Wow, that turned to self-loathing pretty fast. I think that's a new world record for me. Being scolded by this imaginary potter. Well, back in the day, right? Pottery, you know, they would paint pictures of things on it, then tell stories with pottery. So I believe that pottery, thousands of years ago, is the closest thing they had to Netflix. Yeah, there's all these pots. I can't decide what to look at right now. There's just too much selection. I better hurry. Some of these pots aren't going to be here tomorrow. At the end of the month they turn over and they go to another dealer. What'd you think of this one? Well, my favorite moment was when the vaguely female figure was dancing next to the vaguely male figure, and then there was fire, and then a bird, and then I think we had a good crop. That I enjoy pots with a happy ending. I enjoy cookware. I've really gotten into genre cookware, and horror masonry jars. That's kind of my thing. It's kind of my jam, no pun intended. Because I actually store jam in it. What a journey we're on. What a journey we are on. I'm surprised. I'm not necessarily surprised because I haven't actually read the Odyssey. I've seen the NBC television movie version of the Odyssey. So I am educated. I am an educated American citizen. I saw the Armand Assante NBC television movie version of the Odyssey. So I think I know a thing or two about Greek culture, okay? Get off my back. We can't all be potters. But I imagine there had to be a moment between a crew member on Odysseus' ship and Odysseus where the crew member says, "What do you mean you openly insulted the god of the ocean before we had to sail home on the ocean?" Isn't that the cardinal rule of being the captain of a seafaring vessel in this era? You don't make fun of the ocean god before the ocean trip. You know he controls hurricanes, by the way. So even if you never went on the ocean, why would you do that? Hey, ocean god, I don't speak for him. Can you make an exception for me? I'm not the one who told him to do this. I'm simply a humble potter who has told your story in countless sequel pottery. And I was never anything but reverential. You can't beat those ancient Greek myths. There's just something about the ancient Greek myths. There's a romance to them. There is a je ne sais quoi. Is that the right phrasing? But there is a magic of some kind to them that I don't feel like is in other cultures, specifically Judaism and Jewish fairy tales, which just don't seem to be. I don't know. There's not as much whimsy, I guess. They just seem Jewish fairy tales or even the stories in the Jewish Bible, they just seem a lot more. There's a lot of walking. A lot of suffering. There's only one God. Don't make any pictures of the God. Don't mention any other gods. I mean, it's pretty, you keep your pottery simple. And listen, I'm not trying to say one is better than the other. I'm just not. I'm not trying to. But there is a Jewish fairy tale. I feel like, because I've read a book of Jewish fairy tales, and I do feel, and maybe I'm just projecting. That like, for instance, in the Odyssey, Odysseus is wandering the ocean for 10 years because he angered the ocean god, encountering all these different bizarre wild creatures, going on these wild adventures. And I just don't think, if they were Jewish, I don't think it would have like the story where they Odysseus wants to hear the siren song. He wants to be the only man who hears the siren song, and so they tie him to the mast of the ship, and everyone else in the crew puts wax in their ears so they can't hear the siren and be lured to their deaths. But Odysseus can hear it, and he ends up surviving. And the part of the story demonstrates the craftiness of Odysseus, that he's able to kind of outwit the situation. And I feel like if it had been a Jewish crew, what are you, crazy? You don't need to hear the siren song. It's overrated, first of all. You know who's great? My grandson. Not only is his singing wonderful, but he is a potter. He's going to be a very, very important potter. And I don't know why in this version of the Odyssey it's a Jewish grandmother who's on the trip. And I think that would have really increased the entertainment value. It's a Cyclops. He's sensitive. Don't look directly in his eye. Were you raised in a barn? I just feel like the average Jewish fairy tale. If we just walk away from the Bible for a second, the average Jewish fairy tale is, Shmuel and Bethesda were living in a hovel, and thanks to quick work on the part of Bethesda, they were able to, instead of being massacred, continue living in the hovel. That's what a Jewish fairy tale feels like to me. It's not a happy ending. It's, oh, we get to continue to suffer. All right. Well, it's a win. And again, maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe I'm just exaggerating. I don't know. I do not know. And listen, I do not mean to insult the Jewish culture. I'm merely trying to poke fun at the Jewish culture. I feel like the Jewish culture should have a sense of humor about itself. Because if we're at the point where the Jewish culture doesn't have a sense of humor about itself, then what is Jewish culture? And that's me doing another bad accent. Oh, my head. It's not that it hurts, it just feels tired. I want to take a nappy nap. Why can't the back nine of this podcast be me taking a nap? Why can't that be a thing? Oh, I almost felt like I was starting to channel Dennis Miller there a little bit with, not so much with the verbiage, but with the cadence. Take the back nine and then Another terrible impression. That's not anybody. Not only is that not Dennis Miller, it's not anybody. That's just me curling my lip. That's all that is. That is all that is. Okay, I got to keep going. I got to keep pressing through. Maybe we do headlines? Do we do Dark Horizon headlines? Is that what we're doing? Let's see if it works. AMC sets Aussie vampire series Fire Bright. Ooh. An original series blending vampire mythology and Australia's dark colonialist heritage. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, vampires is always fun. I like the trying to mix in the history with it. I like that. Very interesting. But it's on AMC, which I don't watch. I'm an app person now. And I'm not bragging. I don't have a television. I'd like to see a vampire story. I like that it's mixing with history. I like that. I do. And that is a bloody history. A very bloody history. But what am I saying? Is there any history that's not bloody, really? Is there anywhere on Earth? There might be a couple of penguins in Antarctica who are like, we can coexist. What's your problem? And then the second penguin says, you know what I think their problem is? They make pottery. And they think they're so full of themselves because they can store spreadable jam and we can't. Vampires. I never really, got into vampires. I remember when Interview with the Vampire came out. My cousin and I went to see it. And they put the wrong reel in and they started to play Star Trek Generations instead of Interview with the Vampire. And for the 2 minutes that they were playing the opening credits to Star Trek Generations, My cousin was furious, and I was ecstatic. Wait a minute. I get to watch spaceships again? I get to watch this again? It was the greatest. It pissed off everybody else in the theater, but it was wonderful for me. It was beautiful. If they had just kept playing it, and even if everyone had left, it would have been a private screening of Star Trek Generations, and that would have been fantastic. But they figured it out, and they put an Interview with the Vampire, which is a good movie. It's a good movie. It's fine. The thing I remember most about Interview with the Vampire is the scene at the very end where the vampire lives long enough to see movies, and he's watching a scene from Superman. And I went, oh, it's Superman. They showed an actual clip from Superman, and I went, yes. Can we just keep him? Can we just film the character watching all of Superman for the next 2 hours? I'd stay. And just have his silhouette. He doesn't say anything. He just watches it. Please? I'm not that into vampires. Like I have said before publicly that I will watch anything that takes place on a spaceship. And where I might draw the line, you're hearing it here first. Where I might draw the line is if the only thing on that spaceship are vampires. I'm just not a huge vampire person. Oh, I can't die. Existence is painful. Oh, I can't die, but I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful, but I can't die. I can't die, but I am so beautiful. They won't allow me to park here for this morning. It's a shame. It's a waste of morning. Even though I have eternity to live, I am a vampire. I am a vampire. They don't even say their full name because they're in such angst. That's how they say the name of their species. We're vampire. We're cursed with immortality, but we look beautiful. All we do is lounge and then have orgies and lounge and then have orgies and drink blood and have orgies and lounge. That's all we do. Life. It's hard. Even though nothing kills us and we outlive anyone who would want to hurt us. And we've all amassed great wealth and we wear our hair long and we wear button-up shirts, but we only button the first button so our bare chests can be seen and loved. That's what every vampire movie feels like to me. Maybe this Australian one, and they mix in the history. Maybe that'll spice it up a bit. But every other vampire movie, I think that's why you don't see vampires as characters in other movies. That's why you don't see that. It's why, frankly, it's difficult to work, and again, I don't mean to be, I don't mean to make sweeping generalizations because maybe there's a vampire, maybe I shouldn't make sweeping generalizations about vampires because there might be a vampire out there in the corporate world who's like, Jenkins, we need that report by 5 p.m. I'm sorry, Jenkins. It's been a long night. I'm going to need it by 5 a.m. As you know, I can't operate at this money market fund, this hedge fund. I can't work at this hedge fund during the day because of the sunlight. I'm a vampire, but I'm 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. I'm available. I'm certainly available by text. Just give me a call. Let me know if you need anything. Oh, hang on. It's my brother. Curtis, how are you? I'm bored. Eternity is a pond with no ripples. All right, listen. I'm in the middle of some serious financial planning right now. Why do you need to plan financially? You're going to outlive them all. You will be here till the end of time. The end of time. Time is a road that leads to another road. Okay, all right. I'm hanging up the phone now. I'm hanging up. My brother. He's intense. Man, he is intense. Yeah. Why do I have to go off on vampires? What is it about the vampire movie? What is it about vampires that really bothers me? I liked Blade. You know what? I guess I just feel like if I didn't have to worry, I feel like they shouldn't complain. I feel like they shouldn't complain. And yet it seems like they're always complaining. It seems like they carry a burden. There's a burden that's carried. I guess that should be the attitude of all vampires. We got nothing to complain about. We don't have to worry about dying. We're fine. How are you, Dracula? I got no complaints. But maybe what I'm picking up on, maybe why they suffer so much is because they are eternally damned. Right? I think. Redemption is a very difficult thing to do. I mean, look at what they had to go through to redeem Dracula. A lot of forgiveness, then chopping off the head. It's a process. A total process. Okay. I think we had enough of the vampires. Apple teases foundation. Okay, I almost misread this because it was listing a bunch of Apple shows. And it says, the adaptation of Isaac Asimov's Foundation, the Will Ferrell, Paul Rudd led The Shrink Next Door. And for a split second, I thought that Will Ferrell was going to be in Foundation, which would be phenomenal. Because it's a great science fiction epic, but Will Ferrell in it, especially if Will Ferrell played Hari Seldon, who's the psychohistorian who can predict the future. If they had cast Will Ferrell as that you can't miss with that. And Will Ferrell plays him as this, arrogant. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly the future that's going to happen. You're going to pick up that Coke right now. Nope. You would have picked it up if I didn't tell you that you were going to pick it up. That'd be great. So I'm very confused. Speaking of Apple, I have an iTunes account. I have an iPhone. If I want to watch these Apple television shows, I have to pay for something else. I need the Apple TV app or the Apple Plus app. Is that correct? How do I have Apple but not have Apple? I'm holding an apple. I'm holding it in my hand right now. I'm shaking it violently. And I have to pay for an Apple show? I mean, I can understand if I had a Droid and I'm watching an Apple show. All right, well, it's a different thing. How much do I have to give you, Apple? How much do I need? I have the iTunes account. Shouldn't it be in the iTunes account already? Maybe it is. And I just don't know what I'm talking about. They need to add that scene in Foundation. I can tell you that 100 years from now, the empire will fall. And if we don't take these steps, all that's going to be left will be the pottery. The first thing we have to do is we have to develop an app that's free if they already have the hardware from that same company. That's the first thing we have to do to protect the future. Foundation. I read the first 3 books, or the first book, and then a prequel. And it was good. I think that one thing that bothers me about my experience of reading The Foundation is I think so many other science fiction movies have taken from Foundation that when I read it, it's not necessarily new to me. And I'm kind of, that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer, man. Like, I think that's a big reason why that John Carter movie failed. Not because it was a bad movie, but because so many other movies had kind of taken from John Carter that by the time John Carter came out, it felt derivative. But it wasn't. It was first. Very frustrating. But that's the weird thing about this particular culture is I know of something, or I kind of know something without having actually read it or experienced it. And I think there's danger there. Which means I don't really know it. But then again, I kind of do know it, but I don't. I find that very strange. Like you, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're saying, I've already seen so many other neurotic Jewish comedians. Nothing I'm hearing here is new. Nothing I am hearing in this podcast is new. I've tried to make a podcast, but I can't. Why can't you? Because everything has already been done. Nothing is new. I've been alive for thousands of years. I've heard all the podcasts. I listened to the podcasts before they were podcasts. That's not possible. The technology didn't exist 2,000 years ago. They used pottery. It was called podcast. Did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did? Mom, did you see what I just did? Mom, did you? Yes, honey, I saw what you did. You brought it back to an earlier premise. And you basically kind of made a pun. I saw what you did, honey. It was, I think, something that you will enjoy more than anyone actually listening to it, honey. But I saw what you did. Mom, why don't you support me? It's not that I do you want me to lie to you? I'm not going to lie to you. It was a pun. I think you can do better. And that's how my head works. That's how I live my life. Fantastic. Unbelievable and fantastic. Okay, let's keep going. What are some other news stories? Prince of Persia game remake delayed. Uh-oh. The Prince of Persia That was, they made a movie of that. I never saw that movie. Was it any good? I never saw it. It was a big, huge whole movie they made out of that. Oh, why didn't I ever watch that? I didn't have an emotional connection to the game. I never played the game, so I guess I didn't take the leap to the movie. But still, I don't know if it was any good or not. What's the premise? I think it's something to do with he's got an artifact that can rewind things slightly. Is that what it is? It's an hourglass. It's a magical hourglass thing that he can turn back time. If I could turn back time. It's a song from Aqua, the band Aqua. Just to let you know how with the culture I am. Yeah, but wasn't that what it was? It was a he had I think it was a device that could change how time worked. I think. Right? Manipulate the time. And I feel like he jumped over a lot of there's a lot of jumping on roofs of buildings. Always a fun thing when they jump on the roofs of buildings. I like the superhero who can jump from building to building. That's always good. They never talk about all the roof damage they cause. They never talk about that. What about all the tiles that get broken? What happened? That my tiles were broken because a couple of heroes were chasing a couple of villains on the roof. I don't know why they think the roof is the way to make your getaway. There's a perfectly good 5-lane highway right here, but no, they got to run on my roof. And of course, the homeowners association doesn't cover it. They should. They totally should. The game is delayed. Ugh. The game is delayed. Do gamers really? I guess it's the same as a movie. You think it's going to come out in June, then it comes out in December. That's fair. I guess they're shooting Indiana Jones 5. And a guy is wearing a Harrison Ford mask. And I guess they're going to de-age him or something. It'll be interesting to see that one. I gotta say, though, it's... Okay, so the guy that got to direct this new Indiana Jones movie is the same guy who directed Logan. And I feel like now... Because look... Is this the kind of thing where it's like, we need a guy who specializes in directing movies about heroes when they get old? And I'm sure he's a great director, and I'm sure it will be, I certainly hope it will be a fantastic movie. But it's like they're, is that, it feels a little in a box. Like, I feel like the boxes in Hollywood in some ways seem to be getting smaller. Like, we're going to direct this Star Trek movie. So we need to find a director who's directed a space movie with a ship that looks cool but kind of doesn't make sense, with a crew who are all friendly, but there's, rivalries and there's conflict. And Star and Trek need to be in the title of that movie that he's already made, but it can't be Star Trek. Did somebody make a movie called Trekking in the Stars that has this, and we can just have them direct the Star Trek movie? That's what we want. Well, what about this person who made this independent? No. Well, what about this guy who made a Star Wars movie? Star Wars? I mean, listen, I appreciate that you think outside the box, but this is beyond outside the box. We're directing a Star Trek movie, and we need somebody who directed a movie called Trekking in the Stars about a ship that's, the USS Endeavor. And the name of the captain should be, Captain Church. We need that director. I don't think that movie exists. Well, somebody's got to go make that movie, make it be successful, and then, only then, will that director be able to direct Star Trek. It's my take. It's my hot take. And again, I want to close by apologizing to anyone who I may have insulted. It was not my intention to do that. It was not my intention to insult James Mangold, who's a fantastic director, and I'm sure will do a capable job. Beyond capable. Sorry, capable job sounds a little bit like an insult. Yeah, it was a capable job. He will be I'm sure it will be fantastic. All I'm pointing out is that it does kind of seem to sort of be is he the go-to guy for that? That's all I'm saying. It's just, I find it amusing. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm not trying to disparage anyone's art. God, the apology on these podcasts is lasting longer than the podcast itself. I can't believe that was 52 minutes, people. 52 minutes.